Good morning, Cindy. Hmm.
Okay. There.
Can you hear me now?
I can. I
Good. Can
wasn't,
you
I
see do you see a lead generation and daily habits screen?
do, yes.
Okay, cool. It's big, like normal size though, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. For some reason it's small on my screen, but that's okay. As long as you can see it.
All of the slides are down at the bottom though too, so.
Okay, good. Good. What did I just do? All
Are
righty.
you actually in a place that looks like that, or is that a background?
No, no, I'm in my home office and it's not quite set up yet, so I have a background on. I wish I was in a place that looked like this.
What you see is what you get where I am.
That's right.
Mm.
Let's see. Why is
Morning,
this not working?
Cindy.
She says she can't hear me, but I'm wondering if she can hear you or if it's.
I don't,
Yeah, I've
I
been
don't know.
talking. Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Tell her to turn on her video and speaker in the lower left-hand corner. Because I tried to do it from the dots and it didn't do it.
Hmm. Well, this is why we get on early. Oh, here we go. Gotta admit everybody.
Huh?
I was talking to myself. Um,
It's on. She says it's on. Maybe she should go out and come back in.
yeah, it doesn't say her video's on.
And it doesn't show that her mic is muted either.
Mhm.
It's just her name there.
Lynn, does it change slides when I click that?
It does. People will grow into the conversations.
All right, perfect. We'll come back to that in a second. Let Zoom go. There we are. Aha. Now I can see. Oops.
Now it's smaller.
It is? Okay, I'm gonna make it big in a second. Hold on. Is it full
Oh, there
screen
you
now?
go. Full
Ah,
screen,
nice.
yes. No
Cool.
slides. Perfect.
Cool. Oh,
Morning, Krista.
Good morning.
how we doing?
We're getting
Oh, Cindy
coffee.
got it now. Cool. Yeah, I got a Celsius today. It's been one of those mornings.
Excelsius?
Celsius, the energy drinks. Have you seen these? My hand's
Oh,
gonna
yes,
disappear because of the.
because of your
Okay.
background.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. All right, I'm gonna give it like 5 minutes because I know some people have, like myself, have a little bit of tech trouble in the morning. So I'm gonna give everybody a few minutes to show up, and then
All
we'll get
right, I'm gonna
started.
go get another cup of coffee.
Perfect. Mike Ramler. Morning, Mike.
Good morning. How's it going?
Good. I like that dive flag behind you. Is that
Yeah.
what that is?
Yep. Yeah, I got a bunch of flags from some of my favorite places on the wall.
Nice.
So yeah.
I remember that from my boater license test
There you go.
15 or 17 years ago, but I remember it. And I pretty much only drove a boat on the Rappahannock River, so we didn't never have to worry about divers down, but to each their own, I
Where
guess.
we might pop up.
Yeah. Catch a catfish or something. So you know this already because you've been in my classes, but I like to give a few minutes in case people are coming late or hit traffic or having tech troubles when we're on Zoom. So we're going to start in about 4 minutes or so.
All right, I'll go ahead and mute myself then.
Yeah. And that reminds me too, nobody really needs to do anything with this right this second. However, the goal of these Monday calls is to be a little bit more interactive and to let the group coaching be a little bit more of the quote unquote teaching side of things. So feel free to chime in at any time today. And as we do more of these, it will be a lot more of kind of what are you struggling with, or what are you going on. My goal of these lead generation sessions is to give you exact how-tos of what to do or what you should be doing now, as well as a couple of different scripts. We're not supposed to use the word script, so you're going to hear me call them scripts or dialogues because that's something I'm learning myself. But it's going to be kind of verbiage that you can be using in a couple of different areas, as well as just quick reminders of what we should be doing at all times, which is lead generating. So again, these will be recorded. I'll send the recordings out like I normally do. And they will be uploaded to the YouTube channel just like the group coaching calls are. So yeah, should be good to go.
Ooh. Morning, Mike.
He just muted his microphone. He better not be still trying to talk.
No, he just came and waved.
Oh. Why are they not showing all my people?
I'd run and get a LaCroix.
Ew.
So good.
What's a LaCroix?
What's your problem with LaCroix?
It tastes like TV static.
It's a sparkling water with naturally essenced, as they
Oh,
say.
okay, yeah,
like-
yeah.
It's like
Okay.
zero.
I'll eat-
Somehow there's 0 calories, 0 sugar, and yet it's flavorful. But it's like a soda.
You know how
without all the
you know
syrup.
how they flavor them, right?
Don't even tell me because you're going to ruin it for me.
They take a basic sparkling water and they wave some fruit over the top of it, and then that's how they add the flavor to it.
Sounds good to me.
It's about all the flavor they have.
You should check out Hint Water. They make regular sort of flavored, all different kinds of water, and they also have sparkling. Hint Water, HINT water. You can get it online from their website. It's really good.
Hello.
Morning, Eric.
Good
We'll give
morning.
another minute or two for people to show up. If you're anything like myself, you're going to be struggling with Zoom this morning, so it's okay. But then we'll dive right in. Let's see, like, where's all right? Can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to admit people as they jump on, but we're going to go ahead and get started because I want to be conscious of your time today. We will finish before or at 9:45 every week. As I mentioned before, and I'm going to say it again, my goal with these Monday calls is to give you exact how-tos and scripts and dialogues of what you can and should be saying. Some of you would have seen some of these today. Some of you have not seen them. And then one or two of them are brand new. And then also we're going to be talking just quick reminders of why we focus on the strategies we do, and then B, what those strategies should look like. So why is it? There we go. All right. I like to start every training with a little mindset refresh. For those of you that are in bold, some of these laws will look familiar, or these mindset pieces will look familiar. I thought this one was appropriate today because we're going to be talking about conversations. So this is an original bold law. If you're in bold, you'll hear me call them OG bold laws because they've rewritten all of them. And so some of them are they kept 8 of them, I think they said 7 or 8 of them from before, and have about 30 new ones. And this is one of the OG ones. I don't remember if they kept this one or not, but this is one of my favorites. It says people will grow into the conversations you create around them. Now, obviously, there's a couple of bolded words here: grow, conversations, and create. We want to be the catalyst that's creating those conversations. And that's some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. So you've seen a traditional lead funnel or a sales funnel. This is just another little graphic to keep reminding you. You're going to hear different words in real estate, both referred to as contacts and leads. Leads are somebody that's already had a substantive conversation with you about buying, selling, or investing in real estate. So until they have that actual conversation with you, they are considered a contact, and they're only a contact if they're in your database. They're just a person or a met or a haven't met prior to that. I don't want to say just a person like that's diminishing them. However, we want to get to that conversation where we start talking about real estate in order for them to become a lead. If you meet somebody at an open house and they tell you they're already working with a realtor, they're not a lead for you. They already have an agent. Now, there are ways around that. However, I'm not one to usually push back when they have an agent or they say they have an agent. There are scripts you can use to kind of dig a little deeper. We'll get to that at future calls. However, for the most part, right now, I want you focused on the ones that don't have an agent or that don't even express that they have an agent. They even if they say they're just looking or just curious, those are the ones we want to be going after because they're there for a reason. Now, once they're a lead, we can convert them to a prospect. This is when they actually go onto your pipeline. Your pipeline is something I talked about in previous trainings, where I'm going to share that with you in group coaching because we're going to start implementing a lot more tools. I met with Kate on Friday, and one of the things that we're building out right now is going to be a productivity coaching resource center. So essentially anything and everything that I share with you guys will go in that resource center. It's likely going to be a Google Drive, and then you'll be able to access that at any time. I know a few of our agents have been asking, where can I find XYZ? And that's going to be kind of that home base for it. And then also you can search back through your email. Now, in the meantime, the 2 most important things that you can be using are your KW command and connect search bar, because a lot of this stuff has already been created for you. We'll talk about the connect search bar in detail tomorrow at the group coaching meeting and likely at the team meeting as well. And then any of the videos that we record. So this and any of these Monday calls are going to go on my YouTube channel, and so are the group coaching sessions. So you all should have gotten the link last week with the group coaching session to your email. If you go on there and you subscribe to the YouTube channel, it will notify you anytime I upload something new. And so that will keep you kind of refreshed on if you ever have to miss one of these calls, and then especially for those dual career people that have to miss the Tuesdays. All right. Now, I wanted to share this with you. This percentage is actually kind of a rounded down number. It can be much higher. My personal number is closer to the 90s. And quite frankly, it's 90 to 95% from just my database. And then I add other sources in, which are ways to add to my database. However, the actual transactions come strictly from my database. That's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I've taught these classes on lead generation and database as soon as I got to the market center, because it's where most of my business came from or comes from. Now, those of you that don't know, I've sold over 300 transactions and 250 of them have come straight out of my database. The other 50 are now in my database. So like I said, it's quite important. And this is why we start here. We had a productivity coaching mastermind last week with all the productivity coaches in Metro Center. There's 6 or 7 of us. And every single one of us, when we went back and looked at our first 5 transactions, some of us were 15 years ago, some of us were the last 6 or 7 years, and then some were even all the way back to the 90s. Every single one of us had an SOI deal or more and an open house deal or more in their first 5 transactions. Now, obviously, that's why you're in productivity coaching, is to get your first deals under contract. And my job is to show you value where you want to stay until you can hire another coach, whether it be a MAPS coach or you cap or you join a team. And so it's my goal is to get you past those first 4 transactions and really get you closer to that 6 to 8 range where we cap. And so we're going to focus a lot on database and a lot on open houses, because those are the 2 most active deals or active potential clients, both for now business, future business, and in between. Any questions or comments on that? Cool. So some of you have seen this before. I've tweaked the numbers a little bit to reflect what new agents are looking at. So the ratio here is conversion or conversations, opportunities, to piece of business. So traditionally, and when you become more of an experienced agent, you get really dialed in with your dialogues and scripts, and you start building that substantial database out, your conversation number will go down, your opportunity number will go up, and thus your piece of business will go up. Now, think of opportunities as potential or going on appointments, and think of pieces of business as a signed agreement. This doesn't necessarily relate to a closed contract. That's another ratio or another percentage. Right now, that percentage is still pretty high. However, if this is a buyer, it might take a little bit longer to get them under contract versus if it's a seller, they're likely to go under contract much sooner. So this is approximately the ratio over the last 10 to 12 years of new agents working together, and compiled from a couple different Keller Williams sites and a couple different data sources. It's also from my past experience. I've been coaching real estate since 2018, and most new agents take about 20 to 25 conversations to get to a single appointment. And once we start getting used to those conversations, you quickly realize that it's easier to get to the appointment than you thought, and you're able to book a second appointment. If you're Mike Rambler, it's only 1 conversation for 1 appointment, because that's what he did in Bold last week. That was a little bit of a joke, but it's also important to realize that it only takes 1 good conversation to get to that appointment. So the point here is, are you having enough conversations every single day? Now, we talked at the beginning about lead generating and daily habits. If we can be having this number of conversations every single day, obviously that's getting towards that 100 a week, which is what Bold challenges us to do. However, imagine if you're doing this every single day, where you're booking 2 appointments and getting 1 new piece of business. You can quickly see how you're starting to get to where your goals can be met. Now, 1 piece of business, remember, is an agreement signed. And those of you that were in my training before, on your pipeline, you should have double your quarterly goal of leads on your pipeline. So let me think about that a different way. If my goal is to do 40 houses in 2025, that's 10 a quarter. So I need to have 20 active people in my pipeline. Now, they're not all A's. They're not all looking to move in the next 30 days. Some of them are A's the next 30 days. Some of them are B's the next 60 days. And some of them are C's, which is 90 days plus, or they have something that needs to happen in order for them to buy or sell, which might be finalizing a divorce, waiting on a job change, selling something else, getting a gift from their parents, etc. That's something that you cannot speed up or control. So that's why they are C's. However, all that being said, we need to have double whatever our quarter number is. So those of you that already know, we're going to pause here and do a little exercise. Those of you that already know what your Erica just saw that. Our KW Market Center is 884. So those of you that already know what your annual goal is for deals, you're going to divide that number by 4 to find your quarterly goal, and then you're going to double it. Now, those of you that are math minded, you can say, well, why don't we just take our normal goal and divide by 2? It's the same thing. And that should be the same number, but it's about half of your annual goal should be in pipeline opportunities. Any questions or thoughts or comments on that? Cool. So let's get into some scripts. Now, a lot of you have already started asking me or talking to me off kilter about kind of midway through conversations. Maybe you met somebody at an open house and you connected with them, or you have folks that are responding to you and starting to build conversations. I like to what I call gamify my lead generation. I want to have fun with it. And so one of the ways that I've stepped up my lead generation over the last couple of weeks, and this one's straight out of Bold from last week, is looking for a new way that I can connect with people to make them feel part of my business. Now, a way to expand upon this is connect it to a goal that you're going to do if you reach that. So, for example, I have a goal to help 15 more families this year. The reason why it's 15 is because for every deal that I sell the rest of this year, I'm actually going to donate an area rug to a past client's school where she works at, that they need area rugs for every one of their classrooms. Now they need 20 to 25 new area rugs. And my goal is to start the year off where they've already had 75% of their goal met. And then I can continue it into next quarter. I may even do something like where if a referral comes from that school, I'll double the investment. So instead of one carpet, I'll buy two. Now, this is a way that I can connect with my database to show them that, hey, I'm giving back to teachers and I'm giving back to those in need. And it's a lot more than just saying, hey, help me sell more houses. Now, it doesn't have to be a charity contribution or something of that nature. You may say, hey, I have a goal to sell 5 more houses by the end of this year so we can pay off our car, or so I can take my family on a vacation, or so I can adopt a family this holiday to give for Christmas or Hanukkah, etc. Make it something that you resonate with, and then add that into this script. Now, the reason why I said at the beginning of the call that we've started getting rid of scripts and using the word dialogue is because scripts are supposed to be key points that you hit and not necessarily what you memorize. If all of you start using this exact script or this exact verbiage, it's going to sound redundant and it's not going to come off as you. What we want to focus on is we want to focus on taking the idea of this script, internalizing it, and making it to where it's a dialogue that easily flows out of something you would normally say. So the past client of mine that is a teacher at Longin, the school, I've already helped them with other stuff. So it's very easy for me to follow up and say, hey, is there anything else we can do for you this year? And so those of my database that know that I give back to teachers and know that I work in this area, they're not surprised when I start explaining this to them. Now, another way of saying this, and this is the one straight out of Bold as well, it's not on these slides, but you can, I like to say, blame me as your coach, or blame your or put it on your market center by saying, hey, my coach has a challenge for us to see who can receive the most amount of referrals between now and the end of the year. Is there someone you know that may be interested in buying or selling or investing in real estate that I could connect with? Or another way of saying that is, there's someone you know that I should know. Hopefully they already know that you're in real estate and they should know that that's why you're asking for referrals. Does that make sense to everyone for the referral script? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So, again, you'll get these slides, so you'll be able to kind of internalize or rinse and repeat these scripts. And we're going to talk a lot more about them in coming calls, as well as in group coaching, et cetera. And I want that dialogue to be open. So if you ever have something that you don't like or you want to change, obviously let me know. Now, another script. Now, this is one that I shared with Eric over the weekend. He had a couple good leads that he connected with in the open house. And so my favorite thing to do whenever you're done with the open house, and it's usually that evening, sometimes it's the next day, depending on kind of wrap up time and how the relationship and stuff went. However, I like to send a personal thank you to every single person that came, even the ones that said they had an agent. Now, if they had an agent, I might drop off or change this second part. It might not say, is there a good time to catch up? It might say, if you think about it, let's connect with your agent and I can talk to him about how we can help her, how we can help find your home. So you're kind of putting it back on their agent or back on them to remind themselves and you that they have an agent. But to take a quick look at this, it's, hey, John Smith, or whatever the name may be, a person that came. Thanks for coming by my open house on street address. Is there a good time to catch up more about what you're looking for or how we can stay connected? Another way of phrasing this, is there a good time to catch up about feedback on what you thought about the house? My sellers are super curious and super anxious for any feedback you're willing to provide. You're thanking them for their time, and then you're asking them if there's anything else they need, or you're asking them for feedback on the house, or you're asking to stay connected further. You shouldn't do all three. It can get a little wordy there. So just pick one. It's okay to just pick one and keep it simple. Now, sometimes they won't respond, and that's okay, because you're going to call them the next business day that you're working, and essentially say the same thing. So, for example, I do an open house on a Saturday. I'm going to text them on Sunday or Saturday evening and just send a thanks for coming by. Most of the time, they're not going to respond. And if they don't, that's okay, because I'm going to call them that Monday. And I'm going to go right down my open house sign-in sheet and call the ones that don't have agents. The one that do have agents, I'm not going to necessarily call because I don't want to waste my time. But the ones that mark they don't have agents, regardless of the reason why they were at the open house, I'm going to call them and follow up with pretty much the same script or dialogue by saying, hey, it's Austin. Thanks for coming by my open house on 123 Main Street. I just wanted to follow up to see if you had any feedback about that particular house, or if there's a good time we can catch up to talk more about what you're looking for and how we can stay connected. Here's my information. Reach out anytime. Looking forward to hearing from you. And that's really all you need to worry about. You can also do these as a voice text. You can do these as a video by filming yourself and saying it. Make it fun, make it personable. The thing I like about video is you can essentially read this script once and then send it to everybody that came. And it's still a personal touch because you're sending them a video of yourself and saying it. Now, obviously, don't say, hey, John, and then send it to everybody. But if you say, hey, it's Austin, thanks for coming by my open house on 123 Main Street. I just wanted to follow up with you to see if you had any feedback about for the sellers, or if there's a good time we can catch up more to talk about what you're looking for. And then you record that video and you send it on out. I actually did the video. So in Bold on Thursday, we had a challenge to go make phone calls. And the point was to try to get referrals. Instead of making calls, because I knew I was going to be limited to do that, I did something similar. I recorded a video with the script that we were using and announced that I was in a challenge in a training and sent it to essentially my entire database. I went down my contact list and sent it to the people that were relevant. But by the time Bold was done, I had probably sent 70 or 80 messages out, maybe closer to 100. Now, I can guarantee you nobody else in that room was able to make 100 phone calls because we had 18 minutes to do it. I joked earlier, Mike made one phone call. And so it was a way that I could leverage the same approach or the same script or dialogue to reach more people. Now, the interesting thing was, I think 95% of them didn't respond until after Bold was over. However, now I'm having those conversations with people because they're all responding in their own manner. Most of them are saying like, oh, shoot, just saw this. Sorry, I'm just getting back to you. I don't know anybody right now, but I'll keep you in mind. And that's where I can open up the next part of the dialogue, which is going to say, no problem. The training's actually ongoing. It's 6 weeks long. And so anybody that you think of in the next 6 weeks will go to my account and help me win that competition. Oh, by the way, how are you guys doing? And then you can switch it back to your FORD or your FROG acronym, which we've talked about before. I'm going to write that in the chat. FORD stands for how's your family? How's your occupation or your job? How's recreation going, which is like kids' sports, things that they do for fun. It can also be how's your reality. So if they're a renter, how's renting going? If you sold them the house, how's the house going? And then dreams. Dreams is what are they looking to accomplish? Another way of looking at this is FROG, which is very similar. It's family, recreation, occupation, and goals. It's very similar. So those are a couple of acronyms that we use as a way to just kind of remind ourselves of what we should be asking our folks. Now, the biggest challenge or the biggest hurdle that most agents have in getting referral business is they don't actually ask for the business. Now, one of the favorite things or favorite ways that I heard recently an agent do is they will call and they will say, hey, I'm calling to check in. But before I do that, I also want you to know this is a business call and I need your help. But before I get there, how are things going? So you're setting that expectation right up front, which is a couple of good reasons why. The first one is they're not sitting there on the phone the whole time you're talking or the whole time you're asking them how they're doing, wondering where's the catch or why is Eric calling me because I haven't heard from him in a while. You're saying right up front, hey, I'm in real estate. I need your help. But before I even get to that, how are you doing? So you show them that you do in fact care. It's a care call still. You're also giving them an excuse or a reason to start thinking about why you called right away. And then at the end of the call, you can say, all right, now I know I said this was a business call. Here's what's going on. I'm in a contest with the other coaching clients or the other coaching agents in my market center on who can get the most referrals by the end of the year. And I'm calling you because I care about you and I know you're a connected individual. Who do you know thinking about buying or selling in real estate? Most of the time, they will not know somebody off the top of their head. However, you're reminding them that you're in real estate and you're reminding them that you work by referral. And then if you stay in touch with them in multiple ways, they will remember you and they will reach out and send you referrals. A number that I like to use here is our goal is 1 referral. We're not trying to get 100 referrals out of 1 person. If we do, we're going to buy that person something shiny. However, that doesn't always happen. So our goal is 1 referral. It's not everybody they know. It's not every single person in their database. Obviously, that would be great. However, we just want 1 referral. And so the point is, I'm going to keep reminding you because I want to keep getting your attention or your top of mind if you come across somebody that's thinking about buying or selling, because they will. At some point, they will. Does that make sense to everyone? Kind of like where I'm like, sometimes those over expectations can get us a little bit concerned. So, all right, that's our open house follow-up. Now, here's another one that I like doing.
To go, I
I kinda-
apologize. I
Go ahead.
apologize to
Yeah,
go back.
chime in.
As you know, I been doing open houses for a while. I feel like the issue that I'm having with open houses is I am obviously getting better at it, but developing conversation while there. Like, I don't want to be following them around. I don't want to haggle them with too many questions. I try to build a rap report with the person and everything like that. And I make sure I'm getting better at making sure they write down their information, but getting more information as in they won't fill out the entirety of the sheet, or like they say, like you look at the sheet and notice they didn't fill it out completely, so you confront them about it as in, hey, you didn't finish this area. But that's where I'm having difficulty going on. So like basically the filler conversations about how I should have with the open houses and gathering more information I should have.
That's
Like
perfect. All right, let's chat about
timeline, purchasing, and I know I talk about what they like, what they don't like about the house, but I don't get further than say, hey, let's talk later and everything like that. That's where I'll need to get at.
Yeah, and that's a common problem with anybody in open houses. The ones that are really skilled or really good at open houses do a couple of things very, very well. The first thing, and this is what I want all of our agents to strive to do, is you make a connection as soon as they walk in the door. And that connection needs to be something related to them, not the house. When they walk in the door and you say, hey, it's Eric, thanks for coming by. What brings you by today? It's too easy for them to say, oh, we're just looking, or we live in the neighborhood, or it's too easy, for them to do what I call close the conversation. What I would rather do is find a connecting piece, and 9 times out of 10, it's something not even related to the open house. So, for example, if a dad walks in, or if a family walks in, I might try to grab the dad right away and say, hey, don't worry, I got the Eagles game on in the living room. Take a peek while your wife looks at the house. Make an NFL joke. Or it might be, if the kids walk in, you can say like, hey, I have cookies in the kitchen. Go grab one before your parents say no. You're just kind of lowering that level of guard that they might have up in the first place. They are anybody that goes to open houses, whether they have an agent or not, they're used to being tried to be sold as soon as they walk in. It's like going to a used car dealership. Like if you go to CarMax to look at cars, somebody's going to greet you as soon as you walk in the building, and they're going to say, hey, what brings you in today? And you can point blank say, nothing, I'm just going to look at the lot to get a couple ideas. And they'll leave you be. And they'll let you go walk the lot, and they'll let you leave. And a lot of times, when you're ready to buy that car, you're going to come back to CarMax, and they're going to get your business anyways. Now, other dealerships aren't quite like that. And that's why CarMax has done so well with selling used cars. It's because they're not, quote unquote, pushy or salesy like most car agents or car dealerships are. Whereas if you go to a Chevy dealership or a Ford dealership, or God forbid, a BMW or Mercedes dealership, you're going to have that person in your pocket the whole time, because they're going to be asking you questions. They're going to be finding out what you want in a car. They're going to be finding out how they can help you, etc. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's where it comes off as over salesy. And so what we want to do is we want to establish that rapport right away. The easiest way to do it is with the kids, if they have them, or something that they might be wearing or supporting. You don't want to obviously over assume or overemphasize. So it can just be like, talk about the weather, talk about whether good or bad. Talk about something that you're offering at the open house. I saw Cindy do one recently where she had little Popeye gifts that she was doing on her open house. I would say something like, hey, make sure you grab those gifts in the kitchen when you stop by. And then when it comes to the sign-in sheet, I always blame the seller for the sign-in sheet. So what I mean by that is I say, hey, I have a sign-in sheet in the kitchen. When you get a chance, can you fill that out fully? Because I promised the seller I would get everybody's information that came through so they could get a good idea of the traffic and feedback that comes through. One of the things I share with the seller is how many people came through with an agent or without an agent. Or I might say, one of the things I share with the seller is what brought the people into the open house. Because the seller needs to know if 5 people came through and they were all nosy neighbors, that's important to the seller. Versus if 5 people came through and they all had agents, that means that person is a little bit further down the timeline. If you've hired an agent, you're looking to move. And so then I can relay back to that seller to say, hey, 4 out of the 5 guests said they had agents. Don't worry, I'm still going to follow up with them. I'm going to try to find out who their agent is, and I'm going to connect with them on that deeper level. Because this will also help you in your conversations. It's also going to show more value to the seller themselves. So even though you guys are sometimes hosting open houses that aren't for your seller, you're doing it for an experienced agent or another agent, it's going to deepen that relationship with that other agent too. If I'm the listing agent and I have Mike doing an open house for me and he comes back to me and says, hey, I wasn't able to get everybody's information. However, 4 out of the 5 people that came through, I did know they had an agent. I'm going to reach out to them, see if I can find out the agent's info and then connect with that agent. So you can kind of connect on that little bit deeper level. If they, for whatever reason, don't fill it out all the way, I would just let that go. I would not follow back up with them and ask them to fill it out unless it's something specific that you're trying to get. So if they marked that they didn't have an agent or not, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm going to contact them as if they don't. Most of the time, people are going to mark they have an agent if they have an agent. If they don't have an agent, they're probably going to skip that part or write no. So it's okay there.
Could you try to get that information when you call them back?
Exactly right. Yeah, when I follow up, that's when I would try to get the rest of that information. And that's kind of another reason why you're following up. And you could even say that. You could say like, hey, I noticed I didn't have a good email from you when, or I couldn't read the email completely. I wanted to make sure I had the good contact information, something of that nature, as a follow-up point. And then number 3, and you touched on this, I do not like to follow people around the house. It seems weird. It also makes it hard for you to greet the next person coming in. And I will quite frankly say that to the guests that come in. I'll greet them. I'll let them know what's in the kitchen or where the sign-in sheet is. And then I will say, hey, I'm going to hang out close to the front door so I can greet anybody else that comes through. If you need me for anything or you have a question, just holler and I'll come find you. You want to let them know that, hey, you don't have to come back down to the front of the room or front of the house to grab me. Especially if it's a 2 or 3 story house, just let me know and grab me from that way. You got a question here?
No, oh no, my fault. I didn't even know my mic was still on.
Oh, that's fine. I just saw
Cracking
your
my
hand go
arm.
up. I thought you were trying to get
cracking my arm, my
That's
elbow.
fine. Yeah. Okay. So did that stuff kind of help a little bit?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay,
I
cool.
definitely see where you're coming from and everything like that. Make what is known, what you need to do up front, and just being direct with what you're asking and everything like that. Being disarming, I understand how being disarming in the initial conversation can actually uh calm the person down or lowers the
Exactly
person's
right.
guard. I used to do that when I was at Best Buy, as in bring up a
Yeah.
topic that was get off my keyboard. Get off I'm sorry. My cat is right here.
That's
Um
right.
yeah, disarm. I used to do it at Best Buy. I used to disarm people by like bring a like a useless topic or something like that, which
Exactly right.
invites them into a thing. I just always found it like they come in the open house or anything, like they come initially in the open house, I always find that kind of a hard opening to do of
It can be a challenge for sure. And one of the favorite ways to do it is if they have kids, and again, it's going to depend on the open house, etc. If they have kids when they walk in, I will greet the kids first. I'll
Yeah.
drop down to their level. I'll introduce myself. I'll compliment something that they're doing or wearing. Like a lot of times they have a cool shirt or funny shoes or something like that. And then I'll relate it back by saying, I have 3 daughters at home. My 5-year-old has shoes just like that. Or I have 3 daughters at home and they wouldn't be caught dead going to an open house because they would wreck the place. Or something of that nature to just kind of lower that expectation. It also immediately establishes rapport with the parents by saying, hey, I also have kids. I'm a family man. It doesn't have to be kids. It could be something totally unrelated. It might be the fact that football's on. It might be
Right.
the fact that the weather's beautiful outside and you want to thank them for coming by the open house by saying like, hey, it's a great day to tour houses. It'd be never even better today to be out playing golf or to be out on the beach somewhere. Or what brings you by today? Are you out just walking the neighborhood because it's so nice outside? Something like that to just kind of lower that expectation of, I'm here to sell you this house. We've talked about it before. I talked about this with Mike Cranston actually last week. There's a couple of goals of why you're at the open house. Number one, in my opinion, and there's probably stats out there to support this, but the number one goal of you hosting that open house is to meet new people. Period. It's not to get leads. It's not to sell the open house. It's not to make social media content. All of those things are great. The number one reason you're there is to meet new people and connect with them. The goal is to get a database ad or more. That is why we're doing the open house. The odds of somebody walking into that open house and buying that open house without an agent is very low. If they're there to buy that house, they're most likely already working with somebody and or they've already seen that house with somebody else. And so it's going to be very hard to convert them. In 13 years, I've sold one house to a buyer that walked in the door that didn't have an agent. And the only reason I sold that house to them was because I was on the team. It was my dad's team, but I was quote unquote the listing agent. It was my dad and I were the listing agents. And that buyer knew that by working with us, they would get a better deal on that house. That's the only reason why he bought with us. And he told us that.
They do say only 1% of people who walk through the house actually buys the house that they're walking in.
Exactly right. And if they are going to buy that house, most of the time when that open house is the reason why that house sold, there was another private showing either before or after.
Right.
Meaning they came back with their agent later, or they already saw it with their agent. They wanted to get a second showing, so their agent sent them by the open house, something of that nature. Now, the reason why I tell you guys that is because those are the people we don't want to worry about. We want to make sure they see the house. We want to make sure they get a good experience and that sort of thing. However, our goal is we're trying to establish rapport with somebody else that doesn't already have an agent. Now, it might be establish rapport with somebody that's not thinking about moving for 6 to 12 months. That's okay. There's ways that we can figure out why that timeline is what it is and work around that or work to speed that timeline up or just work to be in business then. One of my favorite responses when somebody says like, oh, we're a year out from moving. I say, that's no problem. I need business then too. Because I do. And then when I follow up with them after the open house, I'll say something like, you mentioned you're a year or so out. Have you thought about why? Like, what can you tell me more about that? What's making your timeline be what it is? Are you in a lease? Are you waiting for your kids to graduate middle school and move to the high school? Are you waiting for your kids to graduate high school? Are you waiting for your kids to graduate college? Are you looking to move for job related? Are you looking to retire? There's a lot of different reasons why they know what their timeline is. One of those reasons might be they don't actually know. I got a client right now who keeps telling me he's waiting until he turns 62 to move. I've been chasing this sale and buy with him for 4 years. I've been showing them houses for 4 years. He called me recently and said, all right, we're definitely 12 months out now because I turned 62 next September. And I told Bridget's his wife name. He's like, I told Bridget all along, we're going to be moving out of this house when I turn 62. And I was like, all right, well, Tom, no problem. You know, I'm here for you whenever you need it. Let me know anything I can do to help. We started looking at houses. I showed one Friday night. They said, this is the one. What do we need to do to speed things up? And I said, well, good news, bad news. This house is going to be gone before you're ready to act on it. And the reason why I'm telling them that is because I need them to understand that, hey, we need to get your house ready to sell first. You're doing this process backwards. And I have no problem showing you houses because I know it's going to further our relationship and it's going to allow me to connect deeper with you. However, most of the time you need to sell first, or at least be in a position to sell. I have another client right now. You guys hopefully saw it in the Facebook group. Their house is in what's called office exclusive right now. They've signed a listing agreement. They've determined their price. We've done photos. The only thing we haven't done is put a sign in the yard and list it on MLS because they want to know where they're going next. The problem is they keep losing out on offers because nobody wants to accept a contingent offer right now. And I finally got them over that hump where I said, look, you at least need to let me share the property with my office. Because if one of my agents in my office has a buyer, I can bring them through and we can lock up one of these deals and then you won't be contingent and we can negotiate those terms.
I
Now,
want
one of the
that
things that we can,
house.
let's do it.
I can't do it. I
Yeah,
can't do it right now, but I want that house.
it's a super cool house and they've been there for like 3.5, 4 years or something like that. And the only reason they're moving is because they want more space and to kind of fix a little bit of a work commute. But one of the things that you can also be sharing in these open houses, especially if that house doesn't work for them. So I'm going to create a little bit of a scenario here. They walk in the door, you greet them, you establish rapport, you let them walk through the house. They come back down as they're getting ready to kind of wrap up and leave. You ask them, so what'd you think? Or what was your favorite feature of the house? And they start telling you a little bit about what they like, what they don't like, what they would change. You can say something to the effect of, you know, our office is actually connected to a couple of different market centers. And we have agents from all over that are sharing what we call office exclusive listings. What office exclusive listings are homes that aren't yet on the market, but that I have access to. So I can literally expose you to more inventory than the average agent can.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I bring that up to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, is because that's how you find a deal in today's market. You see a house before somebody else does. Right now, you're going to compete with all the other buyers that are looking at this house at the same time you are. And I'll point that out. If there's 4 or 5 people in the open house at the same time, I'll say, look, there's 4 or 5 other people looking at this house right at the same time you are. And that's just here right now. We've already had XYZ showings or this much traffic, et cetera. Maybe you've already gotten offers on the property and you're waiting to review. Something of that nature where you can say, if you look at an office exclusive property, there's no other inventory, there's no other options. Like there's no other competitive buyers. They're not seeing it yet. It's only people in our office. Now it's a win for the seller because they dictate the terms. So I'll use that house that I listed, for example. They want $399, or really they want 400 plus. But I told them, I was like, we're not going to show it to somebody unless they can match or exceed that $399. Now, when we go on the market, we can't set that agreement. We list it, we let anybody see it that wants to see it. However, in the meantime, when it's office exclusive, the buyer has to be pre-approved. They have to be willing to pay $399 or more, and they have to be willing to close when we can close. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense for them to look at this house until it goes to market. So you can see where we're creating this environment for success, both for the buyer and for the seller. Now, as a buyer, you're using that as a tool to say, work with me. I can show you houses and no other agent can. Period. And there's truth to that because then you start showing them the office exclusive listings. Even if they don't check all their boxes, you can just say, hey, this one came up. Hey, this one came up. Hey, this one came up. And every now and then there might be one that fits. And you can say, oh, let's go look at that one. And so that's another tool that you can use kind of in your toolbox or in your belt when you're doing these open houses where you can say, hey, I have other options. Another way of looking at that, and this is, again, going to depend on the open house. If you are doing an open house where there are other homes listed in the area that are very similar, whether they're in the same neighborhood, same floor plan, et cetera, maybe they have a little bit different, like one has a first floor master and yours doesn't, or primary. One has a garage and yours doesn't. Something that's like a feature that this open house doesn't quite have, you can go on the MLS and book a showing for the last hour or the hour after your open house. So if you're doing an open house from 2 to 4, you go book a showing from 4 to 5 or 4 to 4:30 and then 4:30 to 5 on the other houses in the area. And you tell people at the open house, when they give you feedback that says, man, I really wish it had a first floor bedroom. You can say, oh, did you see the one around the corner that's for sale? It's a little bit more expensive, but it does have the first floor bedroom. You know, I'm actually going to tour it myself when this open house ends. If you don't have an agent, you want to meet me over there, I'd be happy to show it to you. And you're literally giving them a reason why, hey, let's go tour that other house. Now, sometimes they'll say, shoot, I'm already working with somebody, but I'd love to see it. Can I still see it with you? And that's where you can come in and say, you know, unfortunately, I don't want to step on any agent's toes. It's actually illegal for me to show another agent property. Who's your agent? I'll reach out to them and see if they want to meet us over there. Or can you reach out to your agent and see if he wants to meet you over there? I don't mind sharing that approved showing slot. Something of that nature where you can still form that cohesiveness. Sometimes they'll say like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll check. And you can kind of get a little bit more of a feel that they're not really working with an agent. They just said they were. And if they miss out on that showing opportunity, that's okay. Now you can follow up with them later. And the last piece of that is, even if nobody agrees to join you, still go show that other house to yourself. You can preview the home, take some notes, and now you have a reason to follow up with the people that came through the open house. So maybe that person can't meet you. You go look at it anyways. You call that person back up on that Monday or Tuesday, and you say, I was actually able to go by that other house around the corner. It shows better than the pictures looked. That first floor bedroom is huge. Do you want to go take a look at it? I know Sunday night didn't work for you. Do you have another time this week? And you're giving them a reason to work with you to go look at that house. All right. Now, next week, we are going to do an even deeper dive on open houses. I like how much this one turned into it because I think they're one of the strongest and most useful tools we can be doing right now. I did want to give you one more script on when you're actually calling your database. Now, I had a one-on-one with another agent last week, and this was something that came out of our productivity coaching call too. Do not get hung up on command right now, especially if you are brand new. Now, if you've been here a while and you've been in my training, you better have people being put in your command. However, the most important thing of your database right now is to be touching them or reaching out to them. So I don't care if it's a Microsoft Excel sheet or a spreadsheet, Google Sheets, or a piece of paper. I want you writing down first name, last name, phone number, and calling them. First name, last name, phone number, and calling them. Once you go through your entire phone or your entire database, you've kind of made that piece of paper and you've called everybody once. Then we can circle back and start finding other ways that we can follow up with them based on how the conversation went. Now, one of my favorite things about Command, and really this is any CRM, but Command makes it super easy. When I'm talking to them, I can take notes on the conversation in Command. And so when I go to call them next or text them next, I can see exactly what we talked about because I've taken the notes. And so then when I call them back and say, hey, how did Johnny's soccer game go last weekend? I know y'all were traveling and you were a little bit nervous because he's playing an age up this year. And you're following up by something. You're also showing that you listened. Maybe they say like, oh man, if we could just find a house with a finished basement and stay in this school district, we'd move in a heartbeat. Well, then my job is to go find a house with a finished basement in that school district. And once I do, I'm going to call them back and let them know. So you're giving yourself reasons to follow up. Now, this is a script that I use or that we're using for all new agents right now. I don't want you to say, I just got into real estate. I want you to say, I recently partnered or I just partnered with KW. Now, I notice in this script, I said for a career in real estate. You might say to further my career in real estate. You might say to launch or to not launch, to revamp or to grow my career in real estate, something of that nature. But the point is, we want to take this potentially limiting belief or stigma off of ourselves by saying, I'm a new agent. You're not a new agent, you're a productivity coaching agent, which means you're learning the ropes. The good news is new agents are oftentimes hungrier and easier to get into the business than experienced agents. Now, if you're an experienced agent that's kind of re-getting back into it, don't take this the wrong way. However, a lot of the more experienced agents are set in their ways, and it's harder to change those habits. Some of us have bad habits. And when we have bad habits and we're challenging them to change those habits, it takes more effort. The reason why I started this call off by saying lead generation and daily habits is because I want you getting in the habit of daily conversation. I care less about what is said in those conversations right now and more about you having them and connecting with people, letting them know you're in real estate and connecting with them on how they're doing and what's going on in their world. It will come a time when they're ready to move. They will also have a time that makes them have to move coming up in the next 12 to 18 months, more often than not. I couldn't tell you how many people are sitting on their house right now or sitting on their rental right now because they're quote unquote waiting for rates to drop. Well, rates are going to continue to fall and prices are going to continue to go up. So there are going to be reasons to follow up that we're going to help you with in these coaching calls coming forward. But I want you to reach out now, connect, and see if you can take them to coffee or lunch to connect further, especially if they're somebody that you value. They don't have to necessarily be looking to move, but you can just say, hey, I want to get with you to catch up further. I want to talk to you about why I got into real estate. I want to hear how your family's doing, etc. You're just looking to go get coffee with them and get used to having those kind of 1 hour face-to-face conversations and then follow up. Thoughts, comments, concerns on that?
No, it all sounds great.
Cool. All right. Now, 2 more things here and we're going to be done in a minute. Hopefully you have all seen this book by now. This is The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you need help getting a copy, just text me or email me when we're done. I will send you, there's a couple of different links right now that are selling them for uber cheap. A lot of them you can get used copies for $5 to $10. It's perfectly okay to have a used copy. The point is I want you to read it and I want you to study it. Pretty much any answer you could possibly need is going to be in this book, even if we need to, what I do call modernize it. All of your resources are found in this book and we can take advantage of it. I had a couple of you ask in the past about the leadership edition, which is the tabbed book that I have. Do not worry about that right now. That book costs $40 and you do not need to pay $40 for a book that you can get for $5 just because it has fancy tabs in it. The tabs is so I can quickly flip to it and coach one of you on whatever issue you have in your business. So the tabs is meant for those leaders in that role to be able to say, okay, here, let's talk about this lead gen problem you're having, or let's talk about how to make your first hire, or wherever part in your business you are. That's the idea of leadership edition. It's not necessarily a requirement. But I want you guys to get this book and start reading it. And then last,
Austin, real
hopefully
quick.
you've seen this by now. Huh?
Yeah, real quick on that, the book. I've heard that there's like there was a newer version printed at some point. Is there a copy?
Nope,
on
not
that we
printed.
should be looking for?
No, so there's what's called the MREA and then there's the MREA 2. The MREA 2 has not been published. A lot of the training that you see taught by our KW faculty and myself is going to feature data and statistics from the second model. So for example, Ignite will have data from the second model. It just hasn't been republished. What they've been doing instead is publishing these things called playbooks. That volume 2 playbook is what was redone. Now I'm going to give you this website, and there's another one. Those are 2 websites that you can go to in the chat. Keller Inc. is going to be to find any Keller Williams book. And then kwredlabel.com is where you're going to not only find apparel and gear, but they also have books on there as well. The playbook is going to give you what? Okay. The playbook is going to give you like one pager how to exercise things, and it's going to teach you about the models. It's not, the MREA itself has stories and examples and verbiage and explaining around each model. So get the original one. It's okay. It seems like it's outdated, but it's not. There are certain things that we will take from there. Like, for example, we're not going to do telemarketing ads or radio ads right now. We might focus that on social media, but the results are actually pretty similar. Bold has been rewritten
So why is the
because of this
shipping so
change.
expensive? Why is
Good
the
question.
shipping
I don't
so
know.
expensive?
I don't know.
It's on its way. I ordered it on Thursday, but shipping
Yeah.
was almost as much as the book itself.
Yeah, I ran into that problem when I got some of my shirts from them too. I know they do bulk. So if you're thinking about getting a shirt or 2 or a hat or a bag or any of those things or a cup, add that to do it in one order and it will hopefully trim down that shipping. I'm not really sure why it's so expensive. Most of the stuff is coming from Austin, Texas, so it shouldn't be expensive. But it's just one of the things they do. And that's why I think it's World of Books. Is if you Google MREA, Carrie Keller, it will give you options to buy the book itself. I think Walmart had it for $20. World of Books last week though had it for $4 or $5. And that's super cheap. Now it was a used copy, but who cares? If you look at my original copy, which actually Jackson Brower has, who's borrowing it because he's supposed to be reading it, it's beat to high heavens. It's got highlighter, it's got pen notes in it, it's been opened and shut 1,000 times because I've read that book probably 10 or 11 times cover to cover. That's why I can speak to it the way I can speak to it, because I'm determined to rebuild my business based on the models, because there's hundreds of thousands of agents that have done it to that success. The entire point is you do not have to reinvent the wheel.
Oh shoot.
All right. So last
You
thing,
want
the
us to
scorecard.
order the, sorry.
Go
You
ahead.
want us
Go
to
ahead.
order
Sorry.
the book or the work? You want us to order both the book and the workbook?
I would start with the book itself. It's going to be cheaper. You can hopefully get a used copy for much less. And then B, the workbook, we're going to be going over a lot of what's in there. Some of the playbook, and if you think about this, Keller Williams, from a company standpoint, is trying to appeal to agents of all different production levels. So some of the plays or the activities in that playbook are meant for people like Beth Pretty or Tina Morris that have a team of 4 or 5 individuals and they're looking to get to that next level. That's not going to be applicable to you right now. Now, there are parts in the MREA that are that too.
They said-
However,
Well,
go ahead.
My apologies. They say the first 2 models are the valuable ones for beginning agents. Then you hit
Exactly
the wall
right.
of
Yeah,
value.
the economic model and the lead gen model are the 2 most important. Now, you will need a budget model as well. But a real quick example is the growth model is talking about who to hire and when and how. You're not necessarily worried about that right now until we lead with revenue and we get to those 24 to 36 transactions a year. However, we use our growth model for what am I going to be doing to grow my business? So your new agent growth model looks a little bit differently than an experienced agent. The playbook features some of those different models that aren't necessarily going to apply to you. However, it does give you some that are worthwhile. So if you're in a position where you can get both, get both. However, if you have to choose one, get the actual book, because the actual book will be more relevant to you. It's going to give you more information and data. All right, real quick, we're going to wrap up here so we can get out of here on time. Scorecard. This is the last thing I want you to take note of. This is what I want you tracking every single week. It's easiest to track the first 2 every day and then 3, 4, and 5 on a weekly basis. Number of conversations you're having, who you're putting in your database, appointments set, appointments actually gone on. And then this 5th one was added by Kate, which is when we started writing those agreements. Now, agreements can be a buyer agreement, buyer brokerage agreement, or a listing agreement. But when they're written and signed, I want you to start taking track of those. It is okay if you are not at the agreement stance or agreement point yet. If you start nailing these first 4, you're going to start getting agreements. And that's something I can coach you guys to. All right. I appreciate everyone being here today. I will send out the recording when we hang up. Is there anything else anybody needs immediately, or questions or concerns before we log off?
I know you said not to concentrate on command, but I've been trying to do a couple of really simple things. I did put my bio in for that referral thing after you made the notations, but when I click on the whatever it is where you can get the templates and stuff, it has only one thing, which is the same thing that it says. I've partnered with KW, and I need to put my name in, my address, and when I click on it, it's blue. Yeah, I mean, it says edit, but it won't let me edit.
Okay, let's look at it either this afternoon or tomorrow. Tomorrow in group
Okay.
coaching is probably the easiest way to do it. And I'll see if I can help you on that. Because some of the stuff, again, in command, it's trying to appeal to everybody. So some of the stuff might not be relevant to you right now, or it might be something that we can add right now. I'll use myself as a quick example. I'm heavy in that referrals tab and that referrals map because agent referrals are a lead pillar of mine. There's also a lot of agents across this company that know who I am because I've been teaching here since 2019. And so they know the different roles and the different hats I've worn, and I've sent referrals out more than I've received them, which is okay because that's another pillar of my business. I have one right now that's ongoing in Virginia Beach. Last month, I closed one in North Carolina. 2 months ago, I closed 3 in Florida. These are all referrals that I'm sending out to KW agents. And so they know that. However, kind of going back to our systems notebook, there's an entire system around working agent referrals. yes, that bio and command is part of it. Command is meant to be kind of our home base of everything. Right now, I want everybody in this group focused on adding to the database, having conversations, and then hosting open houses. And we're going to talk about open houses in detail again next week on this Monday call. And then the group coaching is going to look a little bit different and hopefully more exciting for everybody starting tomorrow. So if you can be there at 9, please do that. If you can't be there, it's okay. You'll get the link. We're going to start doing a little bit of different stuff in group coaching, which I think will help you with that, including doing a little bit deeper dive into command. And then again, lastly, if there's ever anything specific tactic wise in command that you're struggling to do, so like filling out a form or uploading something, let's get in touch with Rachel, because she knows that stuff inside and out, and she can walk you through it probably quicker than I can. So even if it's just sending Rachel Baker a quick email and just saying, hey, can you help me? Can we do a one-on-one? Cool. All right. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate everybody taking the time, and I will see most of you tomorrow, and hopefully hear from you before then. See ya.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Austin.
You're welcome.
Bye
Bye.
for now.
All right, bye.